Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Yuri, and we're gonna be streaming today again, doing some live coding. Hopefully, it will be cool and interesting and everything. I'm gonna stop the video now. So just let me know if you hear me well, see me well, if everything is all right, and let's get started. Setup is constantly changing, so I'm never sure everything is working properly. Yeah, let me know where you're from, by the way. It's always interesting to know countries and time zones you're from. Yep. There's a small delay, so gotta wait a little bit until I see your messages. Meanwhile, I'm gonna switch the screen. Yeah, thank you, Roman. So I'm gonna switch the screen and show you what we're gonna be doing today. So just to make a kind of short break from WebGL, but still making a cool effect. Because I've been working lately on my 8 years laptop and it had some old archives, I actually found some links that I put up to, to decompile later on, like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And finally, because I'm working on this old laptop, I found that those old links. And one of the old links is actually this website from 2017, Cedric Pereira. It's done by the Sevolorsky from France. The domain is not working. Hopefully I will tag him later on. So the effect is these like bubbly, wobbly physics on the website. It also has shadow, and it also works as a mask for the image. Of course, there's also some animations between them, which is kind of easy, I guess, right? But that's what we're going to be doing today. Yeah, so I'm going to do a simple layout for my windows. Oh, hola, hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué pedo? I should say ¿qué pedo? Yeah. Okay. Lebanon, France. Nice to see you guys. Thank you for supporting me this morning. And by the way, I should actually be drinking some wine. I've prepared some, what is this? Don Pascual. The wine from Uruguay or Uruguay. It's crazy. It's crazy geography. I need some wine. Probably the whole bottle. Not that big anyway. So yeah. All right, let's get started. It's a little bit complicated. Hopefully it'll be all right. At the time when I decompiled this website, I wasn't able to actually recreate this effect. It seemed hard to me because I lacked some knowledge and some stuff. And hola de Ucrania. Yeah, so I lacked some knowledge, but right now actually succeeded, and it's like closing the old stuff that you the old dream that you had 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and I finally did it, and it feels so good, and I want to share it with you. Hello to India too. So let's get started. I'm gonna create a folder. I'm gonna call it, I'm gonna be using physics today and two-dimensional drawing mostly. I believe this could be recreated with GLSL and shaders as well, but just to follow the exact path of the developer for this website and to learn new stuff, I will be just doing this because I like to decompile websites, learn new stuff from other developers, share knowledge. Right, so how do we call it? I'm gonna call it WOP because it's kind of wobbly. So I'm gonna use Sublime Baggage, and you know what? I actually have my license for the Sublime in place. I'm gonna do simple window layout so I could see everything, you could see everything. Hopefully, I think browser should be on the right and editor on the left. Sort of like this. So I'm gonna create, actually I'm gonna copy my index HTML from my three.js template. I don't think I will need three.js, and I will also JS folder. new folder, js, and then app.js, and then stream, and then yeah, just app.js. So should be good to go with the parcel. I'm gonna go to WOP. I'm gonna switch my node, then parcel index.html. Should be good to go. Somehow the most like heavy operation on my laptop currently is running parcel. After like 10 minutes, the fans go crazy. Okay, yeah, so HiStream works. We are good to go. Okay, I need to figure out how to hit the chat here so I could see your messages. Like 2 years ago, I guess already. It's been some time. I also had some other stuff to do, like, I don't know, being depressed, brokenhearted. So I had some breaks with shadow learning, obviously, but yay, you're right in time. So I'm just gonna probably see the last message. Yeah, should be good. All right, ready to start. So for this website, just so we like know exactly what we will be doing, the developer actually used a pretty, I should say, complicated and nice and really cool technology. First of all, that was Matter.js library, which is usually used for physics. Well, this is the physics engine, literally. So you could do like all sorts of crazy stuff, you know, it's a crazy demo you could play with. It's physics, and it's actually like nice physics. I don't see FPS now, but it's actually 60 FPS, so it's pretty effective way of using two-dimensional physics on the web. I mean, probably one of the most effective ways. So this is the first part. The second part, the developer actually used Paper.js as well. And Paper.js is the engine to draw stuff. It's like kind of, you can think about it like kind of like three.js maybe, but for two-dimensional stuff, or maybe like a processing, something like that. So it's just a library with a bunch of functions, which makes it easier to draw some two-dimensional shapes and shadows, curves, kind of like that. So if you go into the examples, you see a pretty complicated stuff actually, which you can draw in 2D. So this is actually two-dimensional thing, and then any of those is actually two-dimensional things, and you can even draw the metaballs with Paper.js in a pretty effective way. Should be something with a contrast and blur, but still. So yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna be using those two libraries. I mean, not to be like an old person not being satisfied with anything, but those two libraries actually have one thing in common. And I mean, the docs are a bit, they're not 100% telling you how you could use them. So anyway, you need to spend some time to figure out. So hopefully the stream will be like useful to the people who would like to try or use the Matter.js or Paper.js in 2021 or in future. Because it turned out not that easy. Yeah, they don't really have proper examples there with the stuff that you need. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, I'm gonna use Matter.js, and I'm gonna create a simple scene with Matter.js, and then we'll go from there. Hey everybody, so I believe there should have been some demos on the Matter.js website, so go to demos. There are lots of stuff in here, so maybe it's just something simple, like a rigid body. One should I use actually? So it will be simple. I'm just looking for one with a really short code. Fusion cradle, gears color, reverse gravity, friction. Okay, let's just see a couple of them. Actually use even this one. It has a lot of stuff in here. Too many stuff. Orange friction, compound bodies. Everything is so complicated. Constraints. too many constraints. Too many bodies. I think I saw a really simple one, but I'm not, it's like missing this one. Which one was the simplest one? Shapes. Or maybe manipulation. Okay, not as many bodies right here, so maybe. I mean, it's not really clear which one is simple. Like if you go to the air friction, okay, let it be air friction. You have the small icon here, which gets you to the code. It's not too many lines of code, like 88. So let's get started. First of all, I'm gonna look for the Matter.js on the npm. It's Matter, yes. So I'm gonna do Matter.js, and let's see what we're getting there actually. Because in the example, you actually see something like this. So it's extending some example with an air friction function. So of course that's more comfortable for the developers of the library, but it's not really comfortable for the developers outside. So let's see what we're getting there, right? Get an object with actually all those objects in the first scope. So we have the grid, query, plugin, bounds, constraints. So actually we are getting like all this stuff inside this object. So let's just copy and paste this one. Actually pretty easy to copy. Yeah. And then we have to create all this stuff, run the render, add the composites. Okay, let's just copy paste to see that we can run the actual example from the actual example. So we have the runner, create, runner, render. We have the engine, we have the world. So need to create the mouse, lots of stuff here. That's why I told you about creating an easy example. But probably we could copy paste this as well. I don't think I need this. It's also redundant. Also have some render look at kind of stuff, which is crazy. I'm not sure we need it. Hopefully it should work by now. Let's see. It's not really working because we need to provide an element, and this we provide a document body element. Oh yeah, it's actually working, but it's just adding the canvas element to not the proper part of the page. So I'm gonna do query selector. Yeah. So right now we just converted the example from the library of the Matter.js to our example. Of course, it doesn't look nearly like what we need to recreate, like this shape. So we have to figure out how to do this shape. To do the shapes like this with physics, you actually need a bunch of like points with some constraints that like with some, you know, like a bunch of sprints they usually called in physics. Hey, thank you. I love you too. Okay, so we need to create a bunch of points here. How do we go about this? There's a lot of stuff to recreate, so let's start with it. First of all, I need some shape. I need to get some shape. I think I had some. I copy pasted some stuff for me, just so I could get the shape. Okay, I think it's this shape. It's an SVG shape from an actual website. And let's do it. Path equals const path. Yeah, let's go ahead and call it const path. Not going to be changing this one. So this is just an SVG path. So just normal SVGs that you will draw in Figma or Illustrator, and you can just export this path. Then we could do something about this path. Well, first of all, I need to remove the stuff that I don't really need here. So let's let's make the canvas full screen. Lots of stuff to do here. Okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. So these are gonna be the size for my canvas. Yeah, so right now it's full screen. I mean, this is my full screen anyway, so next I need to remove the stuff that I don't really need here. So first of all, there's some engine creation. Maybe it's time to just do something like this. I'm gonna switch to my normal structure of the request animation frame loop. Time equals 0. This one, then I will need to create an engine and then like new sketch. I'll just test if it's actually working. And yeah, the time working properly. So I'm just gonna move to this because I think it's easier. I also need to initialize my drawing engine at some point. Right, so let's just convert the example to the sketch example. Gonna run physics. I'm gonna do this engine and create this world, engine world. Okay, then I need to create the renderer. This just means the canvas for my animation. Gonna be this. It's gonna be maybe just a little bigger. I need to thisify everything. Right. And notice that I don't have to run anything inside my render loop because Matter.js takes this responsibility. So then this is actually physics init. It's like, and then at objects somewhere here. I also need to initialize this part. I'm not sure I would need it for the render, run, engine create. Yeah. Maybe I should call this one then render loop. This render is already there, so just switching everything to. Why do I have my console log still here? Shouldn't be. Engine is not defined. Yeah, of course. And then I will need to add this and this and this and this and that. I don't think I need this. Doesn't actually do anything to me. This is adding the actual objects. Some rectangles, and then there's a mouse part. Mouse, this render. All right, visible files. Just want to see it. And then add the actual object to the scene. I don't know, because I'm used to classes, it just structures code a little bit better than just using the spaghetti code. Although I could have done it with the spaghetti code as well. So render mouse, there's also this. Okay, and then render look at. So this gotta do the job. Not read property. Okay, some engine is not defined. Missed this somewhere probably. Yeah, so now we converted everything to the class notation. I think it's just a little bit more structured because you have some, you know, constructor which runs everything, and yeah, even though we have the render loop for now, we're not using it. So anyway, right. Mouse constraint is not defined, so I guess I've missed. Oh yeah, because it was like this. This render is not the function. Yeah, because I need to call render loop now. Render loop. Right, now it's perfect. Perfectly fine. What else do I need? I also need the Paper.js library. I also need the path, which I have already, and let's include the Paper.js library. Paper.js library. Paper.js. So yeah, it's just paper. I'm gonna do import paper from. There's another thing that those libraries have in common, because they're just a bunch of functions in a global scope. So if you just output what paper is importing, some reason got stuck sometimes. So paper scope actually outputs like just something. Yeah, and I think the most of the stuff is in proto. Yeah, and it's like a bunch of objects that you could use, like curve, path, matrix, group. So it's just the library of useful functions. I would say functions useful for drawing stuff in the browser. And there are like a lot of them. So if you go into the Paper.js library website, even though it's lacking some crucial parts of the docs, like how to run it, for example, not really clear. It has a lot of stuff in there. So if you go here and go, for example, to, well, I guess tutorials and working with Paper.js, there's some pretty simple code, and they also use some pretty, I would say, weird notation. So you set the canvas ID inside the script as a canvas attribute, which is so weird. Well, probably that's because the library was built like maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. It's an old one, so nobody used any bundlers, and you used to do stuff like that. Anyway, now it's different, and we're gonna do stuff in a different way. And just so we start from the beginning, let's remove some objects that I don't really need here. So we have this runner, which runs the engine. And we have the render, which renders the stuff into the canvas. We also have it now full screen, right? Yeah, it's full screen. Perfect. Just checking my... Everything is good. A to UK. Здоровенькі були. So we have physics. So what I'm thinking is we don't really need this part. Probably. I need to add something else. If I just comment this, it's going to be just an empty canvas, no errors whatsoever. So let's start building stuff. First of all, I'm going to use the path object from the Paper.js. So Paper.js has a path object, which you can actually use with the path data, which is an SVG path data. So I could just feed my SVG into this path, and see what's gonna happen. So inside my adding objects, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna I wanted to call it path, but I already have the path variable, so I'm gonna call it pp. Okay, and then it's gonna be new paper path, and then path, and then let's see what's gonna happen. This is so wrong, but who's trying to read those properties? Paper path. Where did I go wrong? Maybe this stuff is being used anywhere? No. So what the actual error I have here? Where's it coming from? So that happens when I initialize new path. The path is, well, should be fine. What's wrong with you? Current style of now? What the hell is current style even? So yeah, when you work with those libraries, you can get some weird errors. And I have no idea why I have this. Like, maybe that was just a parcel error. Okay, let's try to run this one again. So new paper path. Then I immediately get this. Maybe I should initialize paper in some way before that, so that I have it. So maybe before physics, let's initialize paper. Init paper, I think it's called this way. Add objects, and there's a need paper. Yeah, right. So to initialize paper, it's actually the thing that I had to find myself. So to initialize paper, you have to call, like, there are a couple of ways, but one of the ways is to create a project. So I'm going to create this project calls new paper project. And then into this project, I have to feed the actual DOM element. So the paper canvas paper, and then I'll create another canvas here like this, and yeah, like I'm gonna add some styles to it just so we see it. Should be there. It's there. I can't scroll because I made this full screen, and probably it's using my mouse or something. Maybe I should just. Do I really need this lookup thing, by the way? Not really. Do I need this mouse at the moment? Not really. I think the mouse was kidnapping hijacking my events, and then I couldn't scroll because of this. So let's not use it for now. So right now, no errors. I have this new canvas from the paper, and we can draw something into the paper now. I have to connect the paper to this canvas though, so I have to use this paper canvas when I initialize my project. Right, and then, okay, what's next? Now the canvas is at the bottom, everything is in place, no errors that I'm getting here. So this PP is actually working now. So I had to initialize Paper.js before I was using the path thing. Okay, let's see what's gonna put me now. So right now, switch to this view. I have this path thing, so I actually run the path object on my SVG path, and it'll output me this stuff. So it actually has a lot of data in here, but the most important is segments stuff. So I actually have somewhere here segments, which is an array, and this array has 32 points. So this seems like the SVG points from my SVG path, like just the path. No, it's correct now. Oh, I see that you have some experience with Paper, because I'm not, and it's not really clear. Like in the docs, there are no examples. Yeah, I found the setup thing. Also found that there's a way to initialize it via the project creation, but there's not a single example on the official website how to do that. So I think we gotta go with the project example because it's working anyway. Kind of doing the same, I guess. All right, so we have this project, we have converted the path. Now we could, we could just draw this path probably. To draw this path, I need to set the fill color or something to this path. So let's just... Yeah, so there we have it. So this is the actual SVG path, and we just drew that one with the help of Paper.js. It's pretty easy, right? You didn't have to make a loop over all of those points. You just had to feed it, and it's immediately drawing there. All right, next thing. I need to make it live. I need to make it physics-based. I need to make a lot of stuff in here. So inside my objects creations, I created this Paper.js thing. Now I need to create the loop. And let's do this. This number of just number equals this pp segments length. Log this number should be 32. Come on, yeah, it's just 32. All right, we have this number. Now I have to create a couple of loops to create the actual physics. So I'm gonna create the loop until this number, and I'm gonna create a bunch of points in space, which I will be using to actually create the physics. I think okay, no, it's so right now when I refresh the page, I have some gravity. I'm not sure we'll be needing the gravity for the example we're building here, but let's see how it works with gravity first. I have this composite still in place, which is kind of weird because this is not the thing that I'm building, but yeah, let's see how it works together. Creating the physical points, circles in space. So for this, we'll do I probably will need a couple of arrays. First of all, I'm going to need the circles array, and then I'm going to do these circles push something. What's that gonna be? I need to push some body. I need to recreate the bodies from the Matter.js. I actually have the bodies already here in place. This is a way to build stuff like this, rectangles, but I need some circles. So I will do this. It's gonna be bodies, circle, it's lowercase, I think, and then bodies circle. So it accepts the coordinates of the stuff and then the radius and then some optional stuff. So first I will need the coordinates of the stuff and then the size of it. The coordinates I will take from these pp segments, so it's going to be like this. And then let's see how the object is built. So we go into segments, has an array, and inside of array is segment object which has the point, and the point has x and y with an actual numbers. All right, so it's going to be point x, going to be point y, and then it's going to be some radius. Well, let it be 10. All right, so we just added the circles. I think I would need to add them to the actual like world add kind of stuff like I did here. It's gonna be and then so I'm gonna add the full array of those objects to my scene. Property add of undefined, because world was lowercase. Circles is not defined because it's these circles. This world add is not a function, so maybe I should import the world as well here. I think one was a global one. You're right. So we just added the same shape as a circle to our scene. That's already looking pretty awesome because like it's physics, it's working. It's not what I need to do actually. So to fix the objects in place, actually first I need to remove gravity. And to remove gravity, I need to fix the engine. So it's going to be this engine, gravity, I think, is that x, just gravity x. 0. Well, probably I just need to change the y gravity, but let's just be sure about that. This engine, it's world gravity. Yeah, so right now we don't have any gravity, so they just stay in place. We have this compound object, which I'm gonna remove now because yeah, so right now we have the same shape represented with some already kind of physics simulation. So the next step, I'm gonna add the mouse so I could like play around with this object. So for this I will add the inside my add objects, I'm gonna create this cursor, which is gonna be bodies, circle again, I don't know, 300, and then the radius 50. Then you could also put up some settings to those objects, like how they physically interact with each other. So we put some density, meaning like weight probably for an object, and you could put up some restitution. Which one do I need for this example? I don't really know. So let's first start with doing the cursor thing so I could interact with the mouse with the object. So I have the bodies circle. It doesn't seem so, but we're almost at the end of the thing already. It's just a little bit complicated. From Ethiopia. Oh, a long way. All right. So we have the objects. Now I need to move the cursor on my scene. And I think you should also set like this static false thing. I'm just gonna set it so we don't get any errors, any weird errors. And then I need to change the position of this thing when my mouse moves. So I need to add some events. This render canvas, is it a DOM element? It is my canvas, so I could add some event to this. Oh, it's too much. Mouse move. All right, so we have. Oh, come on. And Y. So let's see if it's working for us. It does, but the first one doesn't work because it's double L. So now we have the coordinates on the screen of the mouse. And I could set those coordinates. I'm just gonna do something like this mouse equals, I mean 300 actually. And then here I'm gonna do this mouse x equals here. And the same for y. So just set in mouse position. And then inside my request animation frame loop, I have to translate. Right now it's still normal. So now I have to move my actual body. I have a lot of stuff here which I don't really need probably. But anyway, I have to translate my body, and the way to translate this one in Matter.js is actually a little bit weird. So to do this, you would need to run the global object translate, and then you have to use the object that you want to move, and then put up some coordinates where you want to move it. So it's going to be x and y, and those x and y's are going to be actual there's a weird thing, because when you translate in Matter.js relatively to the object position. So it's not the absolute, like position absolute and you set coordinates on the screen. You actually translate relative to the object position. And for this you need to know the previous object position. So actually, if I just use this mouse X, this mouse Y, it shouldn't work for me. I also need to add this cursor to my scene, so it's right here, but it doesn't really work and I have some error. Body is not defined. Oh yeah, body is not defined. So it just disappears immediately, the cursor from the screen. And to fix that, instead of just setting the client X and Y, I would need to do something like this. And it's gonna be position. I need to calculate the relative position. It's still disappearing from my screen for some reason. So let's just output the actual coordinates. Not really changing for some reason. I'm not updating this mouse. Why is that so? Mouse events. Maybe I should put mouse events after I'm adding objects, because I'm adding cursor right here. The second one is none for some reason. The y is none. Oh, because it's lowercase y. Now it's working. Now we can interact with the object. So I had some bunch of small errors because I said had lowercase y. And then I also needed to calculate relative position to the previous mouse position, because this way the object moves correctly with the Matter.js. Yeah. Let's restart it all. Okay, and now I could interact with the objects, but I can like change their places, and this is not cool, right? To fix that, I will need to add some anchors for them, so they stick to the places they are at. Let's do that. So when I'm adding the objects, not just adding the circles, I'm gonna also add like anchors. And then inside those anchors, I'm gonna add another, like the same coordinates, same spot, but different. So it's gonna be again body's circle. It's the same body actually, but I'm gonna later use it for a different purpose. because I will be changing coordinates of circles, but I will not be changing coordinate of anchors. And this means the objects will be trying to preserve its form, actually. All right. Ooh, lots of stuff here. Just a little bit of wine. Thank you, Antoha. Luckily, we figured that out. Whew. Easy to make mistakes. All right, we have this. We have also anchors. I could also add those anchors to my scene, but I don't need to, actually. I don't need them to be drawn, so that's all right. So the next thing is I would actually need to link those objects between them. So first of all, I would need to link every single circle that I have on my screen. Come on, just stopped refreshing. For some reason parcel is glitching. So I need to link all of those objects to their places, and then probably some more links between them. Right? Okay. Okay, where do I start next? Okay, I'm just gonna go with another loop after this one, because I need all those objects to be created before I start the next loop. And now I need to link objects between one another. First of all, I'm just gonna write some code and then explain it. Probably it's better because it could be a little complicated. Links. I'm gonna add it immediately to my scene. Links. Then to add some links, you use another object which is called constraint, which is like literally a link or constraint. Constraint. So we will push like new constraint, which is also kind of a weird way to create constraints, like you run the global object to do that. And then inside this, you put up two body A, which is gonna be like this circles I, and body B, which is gonna be just gonna be what? Gonna be what? Oh yeah, first of all, I need to create to the same point, but then later on, I would need to link to another one. So body A, body B, and there's also some stiffness. I don't really remember the number which works good for this. So I think this one was like 1, just 1. Let's experiment with this. So created the links. This is the loop. I'm just pushing links. All right, should be good. You could see now that they are, yeah. Well, something is different now, right? They're trying to kind of preserve their position or something like that. I think I also need to change some density for them so they work better. Here. And also set the restitution for it to work better. So there's a bunch of physics setting which you could play and you could achieve different effects, but to achieve the exact effect that I want to achieve in this stream, I will do this. So when I create the object with the size and everything, I will put another zero. So for this circle is going to be this. And then for anchors, it's going to be the same. You could see now some vectors here, like the physics being in place. they're still moving around for some reason. I think I need to connect them between one another too. So I'm gonna create the next. Gonna be these circles +1, and it's gonna be either or 0 for the last one. And I need to create another constraint here, but this time between next, right? And the stiffness is gonna be one of those should be small. So maybe try to experiment like this. Right, so now we see the constraints, the object is being connected. Oh, now something good is happening. So actually, if you set the stiffness 1 to this one, what's gonna happen? Oh, come on, just refresh. It's too dense and they are like staying in places because they're too stiff. And because I set the stiffness too big, I achieved like, well, also some kind of effect, but different effect. Not the one I wanted to achieve. So right now we have the shape already. Okay, my browser just stops refreshing for some reason. I believe this is a parcel issue. So you could see this, and Matter.js visualizing the physics with those springs on canvas. Of course, that's not what we're going to have on the final visual, but we are getting somewhere. So the next thing, I actually want to move my segments somewhere closer to the center. And also want to connect them not only with the next neighbor, but also with after the next neighbor. Right? And also want to move my object closer to the center. So when I run this loop with the segments, I can just add something like let's just move it closer to the center, not really center it properly, but closer to the center. Come on, somehow my library loading broken. It's pretty cool now because I only moved the only moved the actual circles, but not the anchors. So they are being like kind of crazy what you could do with this. Okay, so now I moved this one. I kind of also want to create the center part, also static. It's gonna be like 200, 100, also 50. I'm gonna add almost there. So is static true? I believe on this one. Okay, it's just I need to move it further, like not really the proper way to center things, but all right. So now we have some kind of center. Now, not only I will connect these circles with their neighbors, but with the center as well. So when I do this, we'll make another connection between like this center and then these circles I, and the stiffness I'm gonna use there is gonna be something small. This probably was a number. Yes, now we have springs all over the place. It actually looks kind of similar. To make it more like physically correct, I need to also create the links between the after the next object, like here, next object. So it's going to be I plus 2, and if it's available I plus 2, it's going to be I plus 2. If not, it's going to be either how do you get simple math? It's going to be just circles I guess. It's either 0 or 1. Okay, just this circles 0 or this circles 1. I'm just trying to protect it from the last point. Like when we get in the loop to the last point, we're not gonna have the like the next object. It's gonna be next, and then the stiffness there were, I just have my notes here. The stiffness for the next thingy was neighbor, I think it's 0.4. It's a little bit bigger, so it's kind of the connection between them is really stiff. Like this is one stiff, and then the connection to the further one is just a little bit smaller, and then the connection to the center is really tiny. It's just 0.4, and this way you get kind of wobbly shape. Okay, my refresh is broken. I guess some error here. Not read property x of undefined. Probably messed up in this calculation. Yeah, maybe I could actually do it like this. Should have been the way, right? Now there's some weird error here, probably with the next calculation, right? Yeah, because it's correct for everything else. Now remove this, remove console log. Steal events, console login, I'm gonna remove them as well. Okay, nothing distracts me now. It's not, okay, it's refreshed. All right, working now. It's kind of what we needed to do. There's a bunch of things we could play with the parameters here, with the stiffness. So maybe, do I really need the next one? I think I need it because it actually helps to make it more wobbly. Yeah, Canon.js is also nice, but it's more for 3D animations. So maybe I don't really need this one. Circles, I plus 2, number, and then why do I have this error? So somehow on ID 7, next is calculated correctly, but then I have some error here. Links push. I'm adding the links. Circles I. It looks like something is missing here, but this should be fine, right? Why doesn't it output me anything? I think they're pretty good. They should be like close to each other, so they don't really overlap each other. So what the hell happened with my next? Why doesn't it output me anything here? That's what I'm wondering. yeah, thank you, Antoja. Right. So you could see already that with next connections, you could see more sprints here, and it actually works a little bit better, more stable. You could also, I think you could also remove the center connection now. Maybe it will get you a different kind of thing. Let's see. Come on, just to refresh is broken. Maybe it's better this way, I don't know. So in the original, they actually used the connection to the center, but I actually like this one more. So right now we created the physics for the wobbly thing. Now we need to create the image, mask, and all this stuff. And actually, this is the simplest stuff with the Paper.js. Well, every time I mention something is simple, it's not that simple after all. So first of all, we still have this wobbly shape right here. It's not being updated yet. Like if I just refresh the page. Let's put it over the new canvas. So of course, refresh is broken. Yeah, right. So now one canvas is over the other canvas. Let's do some Paper.js drawing then. But there's no console logs now. Just one console log left. It's just freezing because of my parcel and because this is an old laptop. Something is wrong with my parcel running on this exact laptop, so I don't know how to fix it. Better to buy a new laptop. All right, so let's do the part where we draw something. First of all, when we created this shape, it stays static, right? So even when I'm moving this shape, the other one stays static. To overcome this, in my loop, I will create another loop till this number, and then I need to like update the positions. So it's gonna be, I called it pp. So it's gonna be these pp segments, the one that we already remember, I point x equals, and then we should take the positions of our circles. So we could take these circles I, and then just position x, and the same goes for y. Maybe it will refresh this time, yeah. So now we are drawing on second canvas, and it's actually correctly. There's one small thing that we could fix here as well. You could see that it's not quite smooth. And there's actually a pretty nice, pretty cool function in the Paper.js which makes it smooth. So we could just do this. Just do this pp smooth. So it's gonna be a smooth pp now. What it does, it actually cuts all the corners in the shape and makes them rounded. So it probably creates more points or creates some Bezier curves. So it actually looks smoother and like even more wobbly than it looks right now. Because right now I have 32 points. Right now, I'm not sure if you can notice, but it's actually more smooth now. So the next step is how to create the mask and the image. Well, for the image, I've recently watched the Resident Alien series. I just took some image from there. Oh, it's a WebP. I'm gonna just take an image from there. Alien. Then I need to load this image. Alien PNG. Then we'll need to load this image. And there's also like a small catch here, like how to do, we need to do both shadow and we need to do the mask. So to do the shadow and the mask, we will need to create two objects. Shadow, and the shadow should go first because it's going to be, oh fuck, it's going to be the first one, and then over the shadow I will draw the actual PP. And then this shadow blue, I guess, right? That was the name. 30 should be good to go. So yeah, they're both based on the same path, and then I will need to update both of them actually. And shadows should be also smooth. Can't see shadow yet. I guess I need to specify the shadow color as well. Okay, now we have this slight red shadow for the shape. It's almost there. So now we only need to add an image and make a mask out of it. Let's do that. Let's do that right here. So actually, to do that, you create a group in the paper. So I'm going to create group equals new paper group, and then to create a mask, you create a group, and then the first object in the group serves as the actual like clip path or the mask. So the first object is going to be PP, and then I need to add another object, and I need to specify that it actually clips. So it's going to be this group clipped true. And then I need to add an image there. So this is the code to create the mask, but we don't have an image yet. Let's see what's going to happen now. Well, now we see the green object, which is shadow. We don't really see the PP anymore because it should be red. It should be red. Okay, but we don't see anything because this object now serves as the mask, the clip path. And it doesn't clip anything because we don't have any image yet. So let's load an image. Let's load an image. I'm gonna just create the simplest kind of image preloading thing. So image on load something. It's the function. And then image URL equals, how did I call it? Let's call it background. I'm gonna call this one background PG, and then when it loads, I'm gonna alert something just to see that everything is working. I always need to check that out. I am 100% sure you could use P5 instead of it. Just for the sake of learning new stuff and experimenting with new technology, I actually used that one. So I'm not getting any alerts here for some reason. Maybe I have some JavaScript error. Image on load. That's not the URL, it's src attribute. Now it's stuck, but oh yeah, we have the alert now. All right, so we have alert, we have the image, and now we could load the image. So to load the image into the Paper.js, you first need to rasterize it. So it's going to be raster image, it's going to be new paper raster, and then this image. So this is like the image in Paper, because for some reason they decided to call images like raster. Well, of course it makes sense in some way, but doesn't really help you much. So then you could add this thing to like group add child raster image. Let's just remove the clipped for now. Okay, so we are adding the image actually. Now there's a really handy function in the Paper.js which just fits the image, like a background cover or background contain kind of thing. So you could just do the raster image, fit bounds, and then provide the actual bounds. And the bounds you could provide with the paper view bounds. Yeah, so actually fit the image. I think the second parameter decides whether it's like contain or cover. Yeah, so now it's covered. Perfect. And now I could bring back the clip because I'm already adding this one as a second object inside my group. And if I add the clips attribute to true, the first object is going to serve as the mask for the second object. Didn't really work the way I expected it to work, but maybe there's something wrong with my refresh thing. Group is not defined because it's this group, of course. Right. So now we see it. Now we don't actually need the canvas that I've been using this whole time. Like we only need I could maybe just CSS, just hide it with CSS because I have the container. So let's just set the container to opacity 0. Maybe it will refresh, maybe not. But the wine I just need it. No, maybe I'm using these streams as an excuse to drink in the mornings. So actually this is it, right? Well, I mean, of course, the red shadow is not the best choice of the shadow out there, but no, not this one, shadow color. Like this probably. Yeah, of course, like you could play with the exact visuals, but right now we have the interactive kind of wobbly thing, which can obviously morph to anything because this is just a loop here doing this. Where's my FPS counter? Yeah, so it's still 60 FPS. Yeah, it's still 60 FPS. It's just my laptop is being stuffed with parcel, just so you believe me. Actually, Node, which is parcel, not actually the Chrome browser, which is just 81% for now. Also kind of big, but the Node is actually draining all the resources at the moment for some reason. I don't know why. Parcel is just broken on my laptop, at least. So here we go. We just created. Now it's stuck again. So I believe Parcel tries to do the hot module replacement, reloading kind of stuff, and then duplicates the request animation frame loop, and then just got stuck because of some recursive kind of thing. Yeah. So, well, they do really lack docs, both of those. But it's still pretty fun to do, right? Actually, the code that we wrote to draw stuff is, well, it's so small. We didn't use any loops, we didn't use any curves, and yet it looks pretty cool, right? It's a shadow mask, 60 FPS with physics and a lot of kind of stuff. And if you go into the actual website, it's actually kind of fun that you could see the, let's just see. It's the same physics, obviously, because we just recreated this effect, and kudos to the developer. Anyway, it's a pretty cool idea to do. But if you go into this, crap, we need to have widescreen. All right, so if you go into this, now resize is broken. Come on. If we go here and we go into the element tab and we find the physics canvas, and it's set to opacity 0, just like we did, but it's still there. So if I do this, you would actually see the physics here. The visuals are a bit different because it's the old version of the Matter.js, and maybe because of that also the physics a bit different. But you could actually see how it works. So they have the centered object still. I didn't have it, and I think it worked the same way for me, like even without it. They also have a couple of like constraints in the corners, just so the whole object is like maybe centered, so you could maybe change its position a little bit with the mouse. You could see that the center is actually changing its position right now, and you could here play with the center a little bit. So it's pretty much the same. Yeah, it's been some journey. Oh yeah, I like this. I like this effect now after the resize. It's even better. And by the way, it's a pretty nice show. I recommend you to try it if you like sci-fi and if you like Alan Tudyk, who played actually one of the roles in the Firefly series in the past. So yeah, this is it. It took us some time because the physics takes some time, but it's pretty cool in the end. Yeah, of course I need to fix the resize. And it's also pretty fun to play with, you know? It's just so wobbly. You don't really see those 30 points anymore because everything is so smooth and rounded thanks to the Paper.js functions. And what is nice about those, I actually learned that you could maybe just use them like helper functions, not really using Paper.js fully, because it might be complicated to build stuff fully with Paper.js, but just using some useful functions. There are lots of, precious functions inside both Matter.js and Paper.js, and you can learn a lot of those. So yeah, this is how you do two-dimensional physics to achieve some nice effects and win some awards and do some cool stuff on the website and still have those 60 FPSs, even though we are drawing to 2 canvases right now, because one is still like with opacity 0, but it's still being drawn by the browser. So yeah, I don't think it's that tricky. Well, you just need to recalculate the positions. Yeah, kind of. Almost fully for the smooth, but also to achieve this kind of shadow with this amount of code is actually, and the clip path, it's easier with the Paper.js and with the native canvas, because I would have to play with the clipping or blending modes in canvases, and probably the Paper.js might be using what? Oh, you can find the server. It's literally there. What do you mean you can find it? Okay. Nobody knows why, but it doesn't work for me in Safari. Anyway, I think Parcel might be using a couple of canvases just to achieve this clipping effect in the background. It just helps you. Right. Thank you everybody for being with me today. Hope you liked this journey into physics, two-dimensional stuff. It took us some time. It might be the longest stream in a while, but this is the second stream in a while. And I hope I will be doing those like every Sunday. Thank you for being with me. Wishing you a good day. I will stick in the chat for a couple of minutes. You can ask me anything in Twitter or just anywhere. Ping me on the email. I love you all. Say something good to the people that you love. If you love them, just say it to them. Don't keep it inside. Make world a better place. And see you hopefully on the next Sunday.